Welcome to Your Inner Power with Krista. This podcast is for the deeply intuitive ones, the curious ones, and the ones who follow their own path and embrace their uniqueness. We'll chat about all things spiritual, life's adventures, and always go back to deep self-trust because it's all within you. Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome back to the podcast. Today is a very special day because I have my first guest on, and my first guest just happens to be my husband, Michael. I am actually going to try to get this podcast up for our anniversary because it is next week, and we've been together for 15 years, which is wild and crazy, but we have been through so many just journeys of each other, iterations of each other. We have really grown together. And I think it will be really interesting to share a little bit about that because that definitely ties in with my spiritual journey, his spiritual journey, and why we're kind of meant to be here in this life together. So welcome, Michael. And if you want to start with a little bit about who you are and your journey.
Sure. Thanks for having me. First off, who I am, that's a deep question, but I'm obviously your husband. I'm a realtor in New Jersey, which has been a lot of fun.
Number one realtor, actually. And this is a little bit, let's talk about how you became a realtor.
Sure. How did it begin? So I was playing soccer. This was two and a half years ago. Hurt my leg really badly. I was on a couch. We had always...
This was during his Saturn Return.
Yeah, let's throw that in there.
Right in the beginning of a Saturn Return.
Yeah. I think we'd always talked about that real estate would be something that I'd like to get into. And when I was just sitting there on the couch, because I couldn't literally do anything for weeks, I think you kind of threw it out there. So why not start it now? Which was a good idea. So that's what I did. I got my license. That was probably end of November. And by January 1st, I was signed up as a realtor, had my license and everything. And yeah, I fully started middle of January of 2024.
So what did you do before being a realtor?
Before being a realtor, I did a lot of things. Played soccer professionally in Europe and back here.
Okay, back up. How did you begin playing soccer? Why were you in Europe?
Let's go deeper and deeper, sure.
That's what we do.
So yeah, that's true. So, I've been playing soccer since I was 4 years old. My dad was my coach. My dad played. My grandpa played. And that stuck with me. So I played soccer my whole life. That's all I really knew what to do. And it was the one thing that really lit me up. It didn't matter what the weather was. Didn't matter what holiday it was. It didn't matter. And you know better than anybody, it really didn't matter.
No, it didn't matter. Everything was about soccer.
It didn't matter. I would train. I wouldn't miss a session. Double sessions. It didn't matter. So yeah, I played all the way through. Went to college. Went to Stony Brook University when I played. Really bad injury. Decided to transfer to a different school, Dominican College in Nyack, and decided to drop out because I didn't want to do that anymore. So I dropped out probably my junior year, I want to say. It was my junior year of college. Played here for another 4 months and just kind of went to Europe and backpacked around. Went to multiple countries, Italy, Sweden, Romania, Germany, probably missing a few, Ireland. I ended up finishing my degree online while I was there. But between us and everybody else here, the degree was not really anything I really care for, honestly. It's just something to tick a box. But I got it done. The best part was obviously being in Europe and not being home and not depending on anybody but myself and just figuring everything out. And then after playing, my last actual spot was in England. Right before COVID, we came back here. That's when we moved in together. Came back right before COVID. And then I ended up playing for a team in the city. We got our first apartment in Hoboken. Yeah, from there I was still playing. I was working a full-time job on top of that for a health and wellness company. That's when things kind of just started changing for me. With full transparency, you don't make a lot of money when you're playing soccer, right? I know everybody looks at whatever, everything you see on TV, that's the 1% of people. Everybody else is really just grinding and figuring out a way to make a living, right? Just because you love the sport. So it was at kind of a crossroads at some point. Decided I didn't really want to do that anymore. It didn't fit the lifestyle I wanted, and I gave so much. So I stopped playing. I still had that job with the health and wellness company that I honestly hated so much. The money was great, but it didn't really matter. We ended up taking the trip to Hawaii kind of out of the blue. And yeah, I quit right there and then. He offered me a 6-figure salary increase. And yeah, I turned it down. And I went into coaching to make much, much less than that. Just because I don't want. You're going to learn more about me, but I don't like people telling me what to do.
And you follow your passion.
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like so if we backtrack a little bit about like our relationship and how I was intertwined in all of that, was that I had to go to see him, right? So when he was in Europe, I had to make trips to go see him. Otherwise, I wouldn't see him. We were so like long distance forever. Yeah, since even in high school.
College.
Yeah, because in high school, we were a year apart and he went to college and we made that work as well. We did break up in between, but we made our way back to each other. So that doesn't count.
It was like a month and a half.
No, he realized. I had to go see him in order to be with him. So I made my first trip. I think we met in Paris. And that was such a magical trip that it opened my eyes up to the world in a way that I didn't see before at all. I just realized there's more to life than everything I've experienced up till now. And I was hooked on just being immersed in different cultures, different places. And I feel like after that trip, I was so expanded and I was ready for the next trip. I was like, where are we going next? Where am I meeting you next? And I know we talked about even living in other places, which we still do, which we probably will, which we'll see what happens and how this kind of unfolds. But I think that because of his journey, where some people might look at that long distance sucks, doing that sucks, it's not worth it or whatever. Obviously, we love each other, but also intertwined in that is I was able to grow so much because I was forced out of my comfort zone. Obviously, it was scary for me. When I was younger, I only went to the Caribbean with my family, Florida. I didn't go anywhere super far. I've never been to Europe. So I had to make that trip out to Paris by myself on a plane. And I was in college and it was just different. I did it, right? I somehow I did it. I navigated the airport. I was able to find my way to meet him and all of that. And we did this over and over again in different places. And I feel like we grew so much at an accelerated rate because of everything.
I mean, I think that's part of loving somebody though, right? I feel like there's going to be different crossroads for different people in terms of when are things easy and hard. And obviously it wasn't hard for us, right? Because we're talking about months on end. It wasn't I'm gone for a week or anything, right? You're talking 3-4 months at a time and seeing each other for a month. And then I don't even have my suitcase unpacked because it's still packed and I'm just waiting to go again. So that I think, I know it's distance, but that kind of brought us closer together, right? Organizing FaceTime dates and, things like that. And I think it helped me along my process also, right? Because I kind of knew I had somebody supportive, no matter how outlandish things might have seemed, right? Offers in different countries and things like that. And you never saying, don't do it. It was definitely really helpful for me and supportive because there were times where it felt like me against everybody else. So it was nice to really have somebody there and understanding.
We're both people that take risks and bet on ourselves and have faith in ourselves. And I think it's really helpful that we have each other so we can kind of reflect back and have a support system to do that, because sometimes when you're the risk taker and you're the one that does things differently, it can be really, really lonely. So definitely grateful for you. And you all know my own journey as well. So you know that I've taken a lot of risks. I continue to take a lot of risk, and we will continue to take a lot of risks together.
Yeah, I think it's the only way to go. So
otherwise, life's kind of boring.
Yeah,
you learn and you grow, and you learn and you grow at an accelerated rate. You you learn more about yourself, like through all of this, so much inner work, right? Like so much inner work for you too.
Yeah. I mean, I think especially like that whole journey, it was like I said, yes, of course I had your support. I had my family support and stuff like that. But like when you're stuck in a country by yourself where you don't know anybody, you are just really by yourself, right? So like, what are you thinking? What thoughts are you putting out there? And what are you kind of taking in? So you definitely learn a lot about yourself. But the one thing I will say too is like we mentioned risk and like it feels lonely. It definitely does, for sure. The older I get though, the more I realize that there's so many other people that feel that same way. And I'm sure even along my journey, if I kind of even brought that up with others, maybe it wouldn't have been so alone, if that makes sense. But I know like when you're in it, we all feel like it's me against everybody else and nobody gets it. Which is something that I've been thinking about, that I've met so many people that were in the same boat that maybe if we just spoke more, right, and opened up a little bit, the process could have been even better because it was great. Even though there was low points, I wouldn't change anything.
And that's why I feel like community is so important and finding your people. Because if you're like surrounded by people that you don't click with, that you don't match with, there's just always going to be this kind of icky feeling.
Yeah. Something we didn't mention, and like I like telling the story to people, but I don't tell it to everybody. We mentioned how you met me at different points in different places. I think one of the last ones, I was in Germany and you were back here. And I think the idea was to meet in Italy or Rome or something. So we were looking at options. Rome was the cheapest for you to get to. So I was like, perfect. You fly into Rome. I'll be done in Germany. The best part about Europe, this is why I love Europe. I took a bus from Frankfurt. I think it was Frankfurt. I took a 23-hour bus ride.
We would do things like, I don't know if I would do that, but I appreciate the love. So I want to go back to when we were in Hawaii, because when we were in Hawaii, that was right after I had a massive panic attack. And that led me to then finding a meditation challenge and then me going down the whole kind of like spiritual journey. So I feel like we both, that trip to Hawaii, like did something for us, was like an activator for us. So do you want to talk a little bit about that experience of quitting that job and then making that transition?
I think you remember when I actually accepted that job offer. I don't know if you remember, we were by the fireplace and I was like crying my eyes out when I accepted that job offer. Because to me, it felt like I was giving up my dream of playing, continuing to play, and like giving up kind of my freedom a bit, if that makes sense. So that was already a red flag, as you would say, with that job. But I did feel like that whole time I was playing and working, and I was just like trying so hard, even though it didn't feel right, to make both things work. It was the only way to continue playing, getting paid for it, and continue to make some money also from work. And I don't remember during that time, I was getting injured like all the time. I couldn't even play like more than 5 days a week, 4 days a week. My body it was just destroyed at that point.
So it was like you were in an identity shift, but you were resisting the change of identity.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that was it. It was kind of like I knew kind of what I needed to make a decision at some point in time. And it was more of just me trying to just keep it going for as long as it could until it was not doing it anymore. So I think that by the time we got to Hawaii, I was already like, I think I had already decided that I was not going to play anymore. And I was already super fed up with the job. So yeah, with Hawaii, I think once we got there, I don't know what it was either. It was just like a sense of like clarity of like my phone was blowing up and from this job. And I just knew like, nobody's going to make me live like this, even though it was a big risk, but I just knew it wasn't for me. And being in Hawaii, I don't know why, like I'm saying, just gave a lot of clarity to be like, I don't need to do that. I can figure it out my own way. Yeah.
And then from there, you wound up doing soccer training.
Yeah. From there, well, I didn't even know what I was going to do. I didn't have nothing lined up. It was just kind of like, I'll quit. I had some savings. I'll figure it out. When we got back from Hawaii, I met up with a friend who's coaching teams out in Bergen County, set me with some jobs there. So that's kind of how I got started with it. I already had my coaching licenses and stuff, so it was something I could just hop into. Yeah, that's what I did from there. Just went into coaching.
And that was something you enjoyed.
I enjoyed it. Yeah. I enjoyed that. I coached for, let's say 3 years, 4 years. I definitely enjoyed it in the beginning because I was still super passionate, right? I did love the idea of helping kids from where I kind of started also. I really think coaching is just instilling confidence in kids. It doesn't matter the level, but just seeing kids being able to operate with confidence throughout the day because of maybe something they learned from an hour training session. So yeah, I did really enjoy it. Met a lot of people and it kept me involved in the game where I wanted to be.
Another identity shift happened.
Yeah. When I got into real estate, the one difference that I did is that with soccer, there was always like a timeline, if that makes sense. Most athletes, most soccer players know that your peak time is between 24 to 27 in terms of age, of like where you'll probably get your best contract and things like that, right? You don't really want to wait till you're closer to 30. With real estate, I felt like I was in it early enough, but I also told myself, like, I don't care how long it takes. I want to just make sure that I'm not putting down all the fundamentals and it'll all work out whenever it does, which is why I joined the team that I'm on. And what ended up happening is that I loved it so much more than I thought I would. Still similar to what I did with coaching and playing. You're meeting so many people. You're giving people the confidence to make moves, and not in me. Of course, they need to trust me, which is great, but also for them to know that they can buy that house, sell that house, get an investment property, get a rental. Maybe they didn't think they could, whatever it may be. It's kind of in letting those people make a decision confidently with what they're doing. And I think I've just really, really taken to that role way quicker than I thought, to the point where honestly, coaching was just, I didn't really want to be there anymore. It was a little similar to soccer in terms of like, I already had that feeling a year in advance and I tried to delay it.
You can listen to your now.
As much as, but I listened earlier. This time I did listen earlier.
It didn't take as much time.
Didn't take as much time, but I did listen earlier. And it was just something that coaching is just not something I would do anymore, honestly. Because I do feel like, I mean, you know, for me, like whenever I do something, I go 100% into it. And I do find out quickly if it's something I do like or I don't like. And it just, you know, happened that this is a passion of mine. And yeah, I'm excited to just keep it growing.
And I think there's so much beyond just picking the house, and like you go deep with people, like you're able to see and suggest, and you're not just a realtor, like you are so much more than that. And I think people can feel that energy within you, and that's what you exude when you work with someone.
Well, I think it all ties back to my soccer career and things like that. I never chased a check when I was playing, right? There's contracts where you've been there where I could have made X amount double. I would take way less with terrible living conditions because I felt like that was just in my gut the right thing to do. Because I knew if I kind of took the money, it wouldn't have felt the same. It's kind of the same here in terms of it doesn't really matter about whatever whatever I'll make at the end of it. At the end of the day, it is their experience. And I want to make sure that everything is aligned to make it the experience that they want. One of my last clients, we had seen 37 houses, which seemed crazy. And most of them I knew from even stepping in the door that it wasn't for them. Some of them even from just looking outside that this is not the one. But when you do find the one, I think one of my strengths is identifying that they know it also, right? Which isn't, it's nerve-wracking. You're talking about one of the biggest transactions in people's lives, right? So sometimes it's hard to be like, this is the one, to say it out loud. I know from their body language, I know from me not even having to show the house that they're just walking through it and it feels like theirs already.
And you're intuitive. You're deeply intuitive.
Yeah, I figured that out recently. Not recently, but yeah, through the time. My instincts are usually pretty spot on.
And can you share a little bit about your spiritual journey? Like starting from growing up until now, like what are your beliefs or how did they change? How did we get to, where we are right now?
I think it's been a big mixed path. I'll be honest, I never really thought about spirituality, if that makes sense. Growing up, my family is very religious. I grew up with my grandparents also, so, very religious, praying every day, going to church on Sunday, all that stuff. I used to go, but honestly, I would spend an hour and a half there and have no idea what was going on just because I'm not paying attention. That's not It's not a dig at anything. It's just the way I was. So yeah, we did all that. I never really said anything. I never really thought about anything in terms of religion or whatever, spirituality, faith, or anything like that. I did always feel like I trusted whatever was happening in my life. I never really questioned anything. We did have a lot of bumps, along the road growing up, but I just kind of woke up and kept going from a younger age too. I think when I started to question more about like, what is all this, was probably when I was like between like 17 and 20, around that time period. I never thought there was another way other than religion, right? I thought like, that is it, pick one and that's that. You get what you choose. To the point where I'll be super open, right? To the point where I was like, by the time I really thought about all the religion aspect, I was like, I don't know if any of this stuff is real, because I just felt like there's no way that it could be so closed off. And so I feel negative, right? In terms of thoughts and belief patterns and the rituals with death and things like that. So yeah, I did really struggle with that for a bit, because I did feel like that thought made me question a lot of other things and different faith aspects and things like that. And I kind of feel like it sucked me into myself and I blocked things off. I think the spirituality part took a big turn with you when you started your journey, and when my grandpa died. I think that was a big turn where I was able to open up my eyes a little bit more. And I think your journey showed me that I don't need to label what I believe in. I do believe in the universe or God, whatever you want to call it. I do believe there is a higher power. But I don't believe it's an older white guy sitting in a chair up there. But yeah, that is my belief. I do believe there is much more than we even know, which over the last, I think, 3-4 years has really intrigued me. And, it's led me to listen to podcasts, read books, obviously listen to you. Even when you're just sitting here and doing your classes, I do listen. So yeah, there's that.
Do you want to talk a little bit about maybe spiritual practices that you have daily or things that you do?
Sure. Yeah. I meditate. That's been a common practice now. I do pray, whichever way you want to do that. I think I practice spirituality by really trusting and believing that whatever is happening, there is a reason behind, and to not question. I think I did go through that questioning path, especially when I had the bad injury and like whatever things that happened with contracts when I was playing, and why is this happening? Because I think, as I'm 30 now, which is crazy, but after all those experiences, I'm here. I'm like, did bad things happen along the way? Yeah, of course. But I'm here. And things that I never thought would happen, like, happen. So I think that's a big spiritual practice of mine, is really just waking up and trusting that whatever to be is to be. And I don't control it. I can take action towards whatever I want, but I have no control over it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thanks.
So I think a big part of our spiritual journey and our growth journeys too, as one, was our wedding.
Yeah.
Our wedding was like a big turning point, because I think it's like a decision we had to make together, and it encompassed spirituality and growing together. And it encompassed that because, first of all, we were like kind of boycotting a wedding in the beginning. We were like, like, what's the point? Let's just do like an amazing vacation, because that's what we care about. And we were like, why like spend this money on a party? Like, what's that for? Eventually we were like, well, we should celebrate ourselves.
Well, I do think our family did a good job at pressuring us positively to at least do a party.
To do something.
Yeah.
Yes. So then we were like, yeah, I think it would be nice to do something. So like, what should we do? So we knew that we wanted it to be fun. We wanted it to be like more of like a dance party versus like a sit down formal thing. Like, both of us don't enjoy that type of event. We're not like formal people. So we wanted it to really be like about the music, really good food. We didn't want any shitty food. Like, that was an important thing. And we didn't want to get married in a church, which that was probably the biggest hurdle, the biggest thing, because we would have been the first people in both of our families to not get married in a church.
Yeah, I mean, I really think the wedding was a big, what's the word? And like everything that just comes together of whatever we've been thinking. But I think what we did was really just, I don't even want to say put our foot down. We kind of just said like,
this is what we want to do.
This is what we believe in, and that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. So we didn't wind up getting married in a church. We wanted to just do a courthouse wedding, a separate day from like the wedding, like party event, and just have our families do a nice dinner, our immediate families do a nice dinner after the courthouse. So that's exactly what we did. It was so perfect. Like the two most perfect days, the courthouse day and the wedding party. It was only people that we are very close with. We didn't want anyone that we haven't seen in 25 years or some old friend. We wanted, the people that we see and we know, and we wanted to.
Nobody that had to get invited because they were invited 30 years ago.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So all of this was like a big deal for us because it did involve some difficult conversations. It did involve us choosing ourselves and doing it the way we wanted to do it. And do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, I do actually. Let's go back a little bit. Talk about how fast that decision was made. Also, we got engaged in the summer, and at that time, I think we said we want to wait 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, we were like, we don't really care right now, like whatever.
Everybody would ask like, why are we waiting?
Everyone asks that question. I think people know.
Yeah, they would ask whatever why you're waiting, which made it worse. We're never gonna do it. And then February, right?
Yeah, February. We booked the venue on the 14th. And
in February.
We were like, yeah, we got a place. We're doing it. We did it at a pizza restaurant, but like a nice pizza restaurant with a dance floor and everything. And it was so good.
It was really like something I'm grateful that we did, because it was probably like cliche, whatever, the best night like of my life, I think.
Yeah, it truly was. Like it represented who we are as a couple and as people. Like we did the way we wanted to do it. And I think everyone had a blast. Like it wasn't like any other wedding. It wasn't.
No, I think but it really, like I said, it was us. Like danced the whole entire time, had pizza, and it was in our town that we love. I don't think I would change anything.
No, I just wish I could.
Maybe add an hour. But
yeah. I kept saying I want to add an hour. I want to add an hour at the end of the night because it was just so good. But I think it goes to show when you choose yourself and like what you actually want to do, because it wasn't easy to choose ourselves. Like there were difficult conversations. There were some like crunchy moments, but it ultimately, led to us standing firm with what we wanted and following through with that and having like this truly amazing memory for the rest of our lives.
Yeah. And I do think those like hard times, the hard conversations and phone calls have led to better relationships, I think, with our family and stuff. So there was definitely a big effect from the wedding in a positive way.
Yeah. And I think it's because like honesty is always the best, and having difficult conversations it always leads to, I believe, like a better relationship. If it's meant to be a relationship, then it will grow from the difficult conversation. So not being afraid of the difficult conversation, which as a Libra moon, Libra rising is quite difficult. And he's a Libra sun. So we are the epitome of people pleasers. So I'm very proud of us and how we have grown in this way and will continue to grow.
Yeah, it's definitely been hard. It's good. I wouldn't change it.
So before we wrap up, do you have any words of wisdom that you would like to share? Anything that maybe we might have missed?
Any words of wisdom? I mean, I can just tell you things from like my own experience. Change is good and change is hard, but I think it's something that you should accept with open arms. And that's the hard stuff, the good stuff and the bad stuff, right? But every time there is change, I feel like what happens next is always something you never thought of, or even better than whatever you thought would happen. And then the second thing, which for me comes a second nature, and I know it's like hard, like you told me it's hard sometimes, is like, I do really just believe that everything is gonna be fine at the end of the day. And that's from any kind of example, which I know you think.
Yeah, he's the best at that. The best.
Like I don't really panic about anything, which is like crazy sometimes. but I really just genuinely trust everything, no matter what. I'm trying to think of an example.
You lost your suitcase like 800
Yeah, I
times.
lost my suitcases.
You definitely had a difficult childhood, and you came through that. You overcame so much in different countries without being like able to afford how to like eat.
Yeah, that's
Many
a good
things.
one. I lived in an apartment in Sweden with no bathroom.
Yeah, that's another
But
story.
that was fine because I made friends with the gym owner who let me use the shower.
Yeah, and then when I went to go visit him, I had to use the shower in the gym, which I mean that was an interesting experience. But that's beautiful. I think that we could leave it there.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being on the podcast. I'm so thankful that you were my first guest. And we were talking about this for a really long time. Like, we've been talking about doing a podcast together for years, literally years. So after both of us were taken out by some sickness within our throats, we finally did this. So I think we cleared something to be able to share in this way. And I'm so thankful we did.
Me too.
Bye. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Your Inner Power with Krista. If this episode resonated with you, please leave a rating and review. This helps my podcast grow and reach new listeners. You can connect with me on Instagram at Krista Nastu. And if you're feeling called to go deeper, links to work with me can be found below. Until next time, remember, everything you need is already within.